and welcome to an Adult Day with Dr. Amanda. I'm so glad that you're here. So, this is Focus Friday, and this week we had guests on talking about a very important topic in mental health, and it was called Overcoming Suicidal Thoughts and Ideation and really navigating through that. And I had two guests. I had Trina Olson and I also had Jacob Lindblom. And so they both shared their story and how they navigated through lots of really hard trials. And we had a really good conversation. I also talked on Wednesday, just again, giving tips about our thoughts and how to help us overcome some of those really difficult times. And today, I actually really want to talk about overcoming suicide. So I really, over the years had struggled just in my thoughts. There was one time when I had been at church or like I was just having a really hard time. And I remember sharing out loud to God and saying, okay, I'm done. Like, take me to heaven, like, let me be there. And I remember the next day I actually was driving and the streets turned to ice. And I literally should have crashed into the like rammed on one side and the next. I should have pretty much gotten to a crash. I probably may have died. And I remember stopping there and I knew God had saved me. He had spared me because I had agreed with why am I here anymore? And God, in his mercy and compassion and knowing what he had ahead of me, saved me. And it really, I cried like all the way there, being like, oh my gosh, like God in his mercy reminded me that I'm still here and that he wanted me to stay here. And years later, here I am, still going through and navigating, but so amazed at him and how he's helped me conquer so much and continue to conquer because it is really a battle of your mind. And so out there, like, share, subscribe. If you have never been on my show, welcome. Have a seat. I have a couple things to share with you. The area of suicide is such a deep area for me, not even just things that I feel like we all go through, but I'm very sensitive. Whenever I go different places, I will just share that I have a really sensitive heart to people who are struggling, not just with mental health, but really struggling with staying here or not. And that can include people I don't even know. And so I just want you to know that you matter and that I hope you stay because you're incredible. And that I probably can't understand everything you're going through, but I really hope that you know that there is no one like you and you matter. And I really just declare and decree life over you. Okay. And I don't know if you're ready to hear that or if that means anything, but my hope is that if you're here and you're listening to this and you're struggling, that you're here for a reason and you matter. And I may not know you, but if I saw you, I'd probably give you a big hug and tell you I love you and that you are needed on this earth. And so I also want to share a really hard story. So I recently, had lost a friend. I would call her friend. That I met because I had another friend who was in youth ministry who had shared with me that she was struggling. And I started to talk to her in Messenger. And this was years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. But I want to preface that recently, probably last month, she passed away and death by suicide. And it was really hard. I wept. It was really, really hard. And so how I met her was she was on Messenger with me, or basically I was reaching out to her and we were talking, and then she had said something about, oh, well, I'm just gonna end my life. Like, why am I even here? I had like stuff like guns on her profile, things that are concerning. And, I know I had talked to some other people and I actually talked to 3 counselors. And sadly, out of those 3, I only had one person tell me at the time I should call the national hotline and, really just take that precaution. And the other people, and again, depending on family dysfunction, even if you're in counseling, if you are dealing with stuff or there's secrecy, right, in family lines or everything else, you may take a different approach. But in this case, I had a friend who's always on the precaution side. And she's like, no, like, we need to call, we need to take those procedures because you just don't know. And the interesting thing was she wasn't responding to me. And I didn't know where she lived. Like, I'd never met her. And we had just been talking for a little bit and it really alarmed me how she was talking. And what happened was I ended up figuring out just from my friend, the other leader, where she may be or like her address or the vicinity. And I called the national line. I had a couple people and they told me who to call. And then I called the police and they had to show up at her door. And I remember that night she was so angry at me because she wasn't there. She was out, but she was calling me all kinds of colorful words. And that was really, I wasn't hurt. I just was like, wow. But later she actually reached out to me and said, I know I was really angry, but you actually care. And so I think out there, if you have friends or people and you're afraid to share anything, you never know. And even if your friends may not appreciate it at the time, do it, because you could be saving a life. And a lot of times we do things, a lot of times in my life, I'm called, I don't know about you, I'm called to say some harder things or like deal with things or be bolder in either helping people or speaking love and truth, not just truth, but love. And I've messed up at times, but my heart is that I want the best for every person. And I'm sure you do too. And so at that time, we actually built a bond. And I had, I don't share all this. I don't like share this usually, but I saw her many a times. I had, I'm probably going to be upset, but that's okay, and she was amazing. And I'd seen her so many times and supported her before we lost touch in the last year and a half. And I know she had gone through so much, and she was in a lot of pain, and I think a lot of emotional pain, not just physical pain. And so for me, it's the matter of life versus death is so critical, because we've lost so many people to death by suicide that didn't have to go, and it's painful, right, to lose people. And if you've never been there, you may not understand what that's like. I know Jacob and Trina both kind of talked about like, oh my gosh, like, I just felt like I couldn't share it with anybody, or I don't, people told my stories and they didn't really just have anybody to listen to. And I just hope that you have some that's safe, and that care about you in the journey. And again, I know like as human beings, we can't save other people, they get help, but sometimes just being there, even listening, we don't know what we can do. And so anyway, but I that really hit me this year. I know I've had a couple of different situations where I've known of people who lost people who committed suicide, or maybe hadn't talked about how they were feeling, or again, like something had happened. And I'll say other things that happen are, so I'm a woman of faith, and I'll just say this as generally as I can, but depending different places I go, I can sense that there's just more of a very gloomy atmosphere. And even for me, I hear things like, and it's interesting, like in that area. And so sometimes you may get a thought that isn't really even yours that is happening. And, that's happened to me different places. And so that's all I'll say about that. But basically, it's not usually your thought. So sometimes when you're in an area and something has happened, or it's just really like a place where there's just a lot of maybe grief or something had happened in the past there, sometimes it, anyway, it can be hard, because people who are going through hard stuff and then they're in that type of an atmosphere can be hard, right? It's really even doubly hard for them to work through that. And so anyways, I really just want to dedicate this week to my friend. She was amazing. And I'm hoping if this week is anything, it's that whether you're young or older, a teenager, an adult, get help and know that you matter. And we want you here. Like, I know this life like can be really hard. Like sometimes you don't have people, or people leave you, or, all kinds of stuff are done. But you know what? You are incredible. And we need you here. We need your voice. And I'm rooting for you. And so are other people. So, this is one of my more sensitive ones, where just whenever I hear about people who, didn't continue, or they were in such pain, and then there's a death by suicide, it grieves my heart. Like, I don't have to know you to grieve you or grieve what happened to you. And again, please stay. And I know it may not seem okay, but please reach out to the hotline I'll put there. And please reach out to people if you have no one safe. Oh my goodness, please email me, contact me. That's okay. I'll listen. I can't help in every single way, but I can connect you, and I can definitely be here, meaning if you need someone to talk to, I will be here. I tell you that. So you can call anytime or maybe message me anytime, because I don't know that I really have a call on Dr. Amanda. But again, mental health is an incredible area. And I know so many people have different elements of mental health, whether it be the thoughts or depression or anxiety, and they're all harmful and hurtful, and it can be scary. And so I just want to be, again, a light and a hope for you. So I hope you're well. Please like, share, and subscribe. And if you know that this might help a friend, please share it with them. And again, you're incredible and amazing. And I hope and declare and decree life over you and everything that you're meant to do on earth, because there's no one like you. There's no one else like you with your face. There's no one else like you with your smile and your voice and who you are and what you bring. And so I hope you stay. So take care, be well. I have the hotlines posted, and I really, really, really sincerely want you to know that you're loved. Take care.